In this lesson, we're going to go ahead and look at more complex equations to solve, equations that have variables on both sides potentially, and that have to have terms combined together. In general, as equations get more complex, you just need more tools in order to solve them. But keep in mind our main goal is to simplify both sides of the equation as much as possible so that on one side of the equation you have a variable and on the other side of the equation you have a number or a constant. Let's start with these examples. For the first one, 5y minus 4 plus 3y equals 12. We have two different y variables, so I'm going to combine those together to make it 8y. They're on the same side, so 5y plus 3y equals the 8y. Next thing I want to try to do is get rid of that number 4. It's currently negative, so I'm going to make an opposite, or add 4 to both sides. And finally, to undo multiplication by 8, I'm going to divide by 8 on both sides. (16 divided by 8 is 2. So y equals 2 in this equation. You can see the next one's just slightly different. There are x's on both sides. I need to get them together on the same side. Usually I do the left. So first, I'm going to move this 3x to the other side. It's positive right now, so in order to move it to the other side, I'm going to have to make it negative or subtract it. Seven x's minus 3x's are 4x's. Now, this equation should look really similar to work that you've already done. I'm going to next add 2 to both sides. And to finish it, I'll divide both sides by 4. So x equals 11/4. Here's one last example like this, where there's variables on both sides. We need to get the ends together, preferably on the left. So I'll start by undoing this 9n. It's positive on the right, and I want to take it to the left-hand side, so now I'm going to subtract it. Five n's minus 9 n's are negative 4 n's. This 16 on the right is actually going to be a negative 16. That's because of this subtraction symbol here. It's attached to the 16, so I can't get rid of it. Next, I'm going to subtract 12 to try to move all the numbers to the right. On the right-hand side, I have a negative 16 minus 12, which in total is negative 28. I'll finish by dividing both sides by negative 4. Negative divided by a negative is positive. 28 divided by 4 is 7. The last part of this section, we'll talk about word problems, which I know everyone usually struggles with, but we want to start them at the very beginning. The biggest example is consecutive number problems. You'll see quite a few of these. In consecutive number problems, it just means consecutive numbers meaning one number right after another, like 7, 8, 9, 10. If you let n be the very first number, like in this case, 7, then in order to represent consecutive numbers, I'll just add 1 each time. So I'll have n plus 1, n plus 2, and n plus 3. You could do even numbers or odd numbers. In this case, I have odd numbers. If I start the first one with an n, the next one would be n plus 2, n plus 4, and n plus 6. Doesn't matter if they're even or odd, they're all separated by plus 2. Here's a sample problem that deals with consecutive even numbers. I'm supposed to find two consecutive even numbers whose sum is 74. So I'll let the first number be n. Okay, if that's the case, then the next consecutive even number would be n plus 2. In the problem, it says it's a sum. So since I'm finding a sum, I'm going to add those two numbers together. Their total should be 74. So n plus 2 equals 74. All right, now we can solve it. And on the left-hand side, I have two n's, so I'll combine those together. Now subtract 2 from both sides. And finally, divide by 2. So n equals 36. That represents the first number. Now, since I'm supposed to find both of the numbers, what I'll do is substitute that 36 back into the n plus 2 to get my other number, which would be 38. So the answer to the problem is those consecutive even numbers is 36 and 38. 180 degrees. For this last example, it's a little bit more difficult just because of the variables. So in this one, you're supposed to find the measures of 3 angles of a triangle, with the second being 3 times the first and the third being twice the second. Just to make things easier, let's go ahead and just assume that A is the measure of the smallest angle. That means that the second angle, since it's 3 times the first, would be 3A. And the third angle, since it's twice the second, would be 2 times that 3A. All right, let's go ahead and set up the equation. All of the angles of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So A plus 3A plus 2 times 3A should equal 180. And there's a lot of A's on this side. Actually, I'm going to simplify this one right here. So we have A plus 3A plus 6A equals 180. Altogether, I have 1, 3, and 6 A's, or 10 A's. To finish, I'll divide both sides by 10 to get A equals 18. Now, this isn't the answer to the question. This is just the first angle. So I'm supposed to find all 3 of them. Well, A is 18. The second angle is 3 times 18, or 54. And the third angle should be twice 54, or 108. So there are the three answers to this angles. Just to make sure, if you had any doubt in your mind if you were correct or not, you could always take these 3 add them up, and make sure you get 180. That would be just a second way to figure out if you were correct.